Daily Trust News Center, this is the News Hour.
On News Hour tonight, AIG visits areas affected by Plateau killings as sectarian violence spreads. Federal High Court reverses impeachment of Zamfara State Deputy Governor. Britain commends Nigeria's recent economic policies. And on the foreign scene, Sudan's warring sides resume fighting after latest ceasefire ends. Hello and welcome to News Hour on Trust TV. I'm Darshan Hussaina Usman. We begin with security, where the Assistant Inspector General of Police, Musa Haladu, who is in charge of Zone 4, has visited some of the crisis areas in Plateau State. The AIG was in the state to get first-hand information about the crisis bedeviling the state in recent times. Ado Musa reports.
The AIG is visiting the state to inspect the security situation of the crisis areas and to condole with the government and people of the state over the loss of their loved ones. Mr. Haladu promised to work with the state government to restore peace.
To solve this problem, but I pray, I always prayed in this office, and by the grace of God, which I started here. So what the grace I planted was by the grace of God, we pray and God will give it our wisdom.
The state governor, Barrister Caleb Mutfwan, appealed to the people of the state to remain calm as his government will ensure lives and properties are protected.
And therefore, we are looking for lasting solutions. And let me seize this opportunity again to appeal to our people of the plateau to remain calm, that all hands are on deck to be able to address these issues and arrest this ugly situation.
More than 200 people were killed in recent time in the villages of Mangu, Barikiladi, and your local government areas. Ado Musa, Trust TV News, Jos.
Again, we speak to Daily Trust reporter in Jos, Ado Musa, as he gives us an update on the situation.
With regard to the Tuesday's night attack, about 20 people were confirmed killed. Even though the police is yet to give or issue any official statement with regard to the casualty figure. But group leaders and community leaders have since confirmed the death to journalists in Jos. In the case of the attack launched in Samba community of Riom local government area, the spokesperson of Birom Youth Movement, Ruang Tengwan, confirmed to Trust TV that 6 vigilantes were gunned down during the attack. And that has also been confirmed by the spokesperson of 3 Division of the Nigerian Army, Rukuba Barak Jos, Major Ishaku Takwa, that 6 people were killed in that particular Samba community. And in the case of the attack launched in Boy and Chisu communities of Mangu local government area, the member representing Mangu South constituency in the State Assembly, Bala Fwangje, also confirmed that 14 people were killed in the attack. And this has brought the total to 20 people that lost their lives during the Tuesday's night attack. And the report we are getting from various villages of Barikiladi and Riom local government area revealed that hundreds of people have been fleeing their villages to major towns and their relatives to escape any unforeseen circumstances that may occur. Over the weekend, a good number of mobile police officers have been deployed to troubled areas to ensure law and order. And sources from some of these villages also told journalists that they are beginning to see the presence of security personnel in their communities.
Thank you, Ado Musa, for that update. Now, the management of the Federal University Gusau, Zamfara State, says they are working with the parents of the 5 abducted students and security agencies to ensure the safe release of the abductees. Vice-Chancellor of the university, Professor Ma'azu Abubakar, disclosed this while fielding questions from journalists over the incessant abduction of students at Sabangida community and Dambang area of Gusau. The report.
Sabongida is the host community of the Federal University Gusau, where most of the students are staying off campus. The students of the university have suffered a series of abductions in the past few months. The last was the abduction of 5 students at the Sabongida community last Friday night. This development provoked the students to protest against constant abduction of their colleagues and warned the student management and government to put in place security measures to protect them against terrorists. The Vice-Chancellor of the University, represented by Director of Library of the institution, Dr. Aliu Gudanga, enumerated the various security measures the university management has taken to secure the students.
We have made effort to secure a rented accommodation in Sabongida, which is a community where the university is located. And we provide our own security men, and we also provide all the facilities that will make students to live comfortably. But unfortunately, because of the large number of students, we don't have accommodation within the campus, and the campus is not fenced, as you can see. Although government has made effort, they have started, the contract has been awarded, but we still need more funding to ensure that this thing is done and is completed in good time.
The Vice-Chancellor explained that the major problems which the institution is faced with are lack of perimeter fence and inadequate hostel accommodations. He therefore called on the students and their parents to remain calm as the university management, state government and security agencies are making frantic efforts to secure the safe release of the 5 abducted students.
As a result of this incident, now we are thinking out of the box to see how we can also secure such places where students are lodging within Dampa area, inshallah. As you can see today, the situation has gone very well. Students have started writing their exam. In fact, we had the first examination. In the next 1 hour or 2, the second one will come. And you can see the presence of military right from the gate. Army, police, civil defense, all of them.
The management of the Federal University Gusau also appealed to the federal and state government as well as wealthy individuals and organizations to assist the university with funds to build a perimeter fence and hostel for students in the institution.
Still talking security, Rivers State Police Command says it has arrested 5 suspected armed robbers and recovered 3 arms, 2 ammunitions and 3 cartridges in separate operations. The Commissioner of Police in the state, Nwonye Emeka, who disclosed this at a press briefing in Port Harcourt, said the arrest followed intelligence gathering by men of the command. The report.
The Rivers State Police Commissioner, Emeka Nwonye, said among those arrested is a suspected Vikings called Kingpin, known as Kenneth Nkwe, in Bomu at Tai local government area. Nwonye explained that operatives of the command stormed the hideout of the suspected Vikings cult member and arrested the culprit. The Rivers CP also revealed that operatives of the command, while on patrol at Rupoku Market, recovered live cartridges, 2 masks and 2 expanded cartridges from occupants of a Toyota Salon car.
1 portable English-made Beretta pistol was recovered from him. Upon interrogation, the suspect confessed that he bought the pistol from one Ismail Ali, male, a Filipino, 17th June 2023 at about 0500 hours, arrested one Madabuchi Ali, male, 27 years of age.
CP Nwonye added that SARS is not operational in Rivers State, contrary to social media report. He said SARS remains disbanded in Rivers State as directed by Inspector General of the Police.
It is pertinent to the state that since the Inspector General of Police announced the disbandment of the Special Anti-Robbery Squad of the Nigerian Police Force, the team was disbanded. In line with the directives and operatives of the units were redeployed to other police formation. There is currently no team by the name Special Anti-Robbery Squad in Rivers State, and there will never be.
The Commissioner of Police said the task to rid Rivers State of criminals is irrevocable and a collective responsibility of all. He therefore charged the people to be open in supporting security agents to fight crime and criminality in the state.
Reactions continue to trail the face-off between the driver unit of National Union of Petroleum and Natural Gas Workers and the Rivers State Command of the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps. This is even as the South-South Youth Initiative had accused top members of NUPENG of involvement in illegal oil bunkering activities in the Niger Delta region. The report.
Leadership of South-South Youth Initiative described the allegations and removal of the commandant of the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps in Rivers State, Oga Michael, as unfounded. Addressing newsmen in Port Harcourt, SSYI National President, Comrade Xavier Oscar, described the action of NUPENG and IPMAN members who blocked a major road leading to the NSCDC state headquarters in Port Harcourt as contempt of court.
It is clear and note that NUPENG and IPMAN have never acted based on the welfare of the ordinary citizen. Rather, they've always acted based on their personal welfare. NUPENG have not added their voice to talk about the affecting issue of oil subsidy removal that affected the general masses. Rather, they went fast in their action because their truck that was carrying illegal bunkering was actually accosted, and even the men that was responsible for these trucks disappeared into thin air.
Oscar explained that despite all effort by oil thieves in the region, Oga has remained professional in his line of duty. He urged the NSCDC Commandant General not to act based on sentiment, but on utmost professionalism in the course of the investigation.
We urge the Commandant General of NSCDC not to act based on sentiment, but utmost professionalism. We are calling on the court that gave the interim order to go after the personnel of NUPENG and IPMAN for contempt of court. The people involved in undermining the order of court should be arrested and prosecuted accordingly. We are also calling on the Commandant General of NSCDC, Dr. Ahmed Odi, not to allow self-centered politicians and individuals to be a deciding factor of our action against his own men and officers.
The Commandant General of the Corps has since deployed a new commandant to replace Oga in Rivers State.
The Cross River State Governor Basi Edet Otu has ordered the immediate ban of all commercial motorcycles within the Calabar metropolis. The Chief Press Secretary to the Governor, Emmanuel Ogbeche, who disclosed this in a statement on Wednesday, said the ban followed due consultations with security chiefs in the state. According to the statement, those willing to use their motorcycles to earn a decent living are restricted only to remote areas away from the city center. The state government warned that anyone caught violating the directive will have their motorcycle impounded and the offender prosecuted. The state government, while warning against the vandalization of public assets like street lights, lampposts and traffic lights, also advised criminals to desist forthwith as culprits will be made to face the full wrath of the law. The rise in cases of out-of-school children, which is a direct implication of the herder-farmer crisis in Benue State, has become a source of concern for many residents of the state. This, residents say, has caused considerable damage to the social, economic and political life of people, especially children who, instead of being in school, have taken to the streets in search of where to find their next meal. Jimmy Adzande has the report.
The future of some Benue kids is bleak, no thanks to the farmer herders crisis that has displaced over 1 million villagers from their ancestral homes. Makurdi residents are worried that with this development, if not checked, will negatively impact the entire state in no distant future.
Most of the children, they are not attending schools. The makeshift schools that have been opened, they are not very standard. And then most people have decided to go and live with others. If you pay careful attention, you can see that for a long time now, there has been a trend. People who have been displaced going around Makurdi town begging for people to adopt their children so that at least they can feed. So they are no longer talking about education. It's how to feed. We have to find shelter and find food that could sustain their life.
They want the government to establish more schools in a bid to resettle the war victims to their ancestral communities.
Community structures that are destroyed by virtue of the attacks, if you put them back, one, road networks, when they are destroyed, farmers cannot take their produce to the markets. Places of worship, when they are destroyed, you cannot have people coming together again. Educational centers, when they are destroyed, people cannot go to school again. There are some children that have been in the camps all their life. They were born in the camps, they are still in the camps till today. There's no education for that. We know the kind of future we are preparing to tolerate such a situation. The future is bleak.
Governor Alia administration has been urged to revisit the open grazing prohibition and ranches establishment law that became a bone of contention and threatened some for the overall good of the parties involved.
It's a good law that seeks to establish a ranching system. But you and I know that many years while we were growing up, people practiced ranching. People who had cattle would keep them in a place and allow them to go out at certain times and come back. That was elements of ranching. It's the best model. Globally, everybody accepts that that's the right thing to do. So that law has the best model, a good law, but it needed to be perceived as more friendly. To use the technical expression, it needed to be conflict sensitive. And the conflict sensitivity elements of the law was missing.
Hyacinth Alia in his campaign manifesto promised to return the internally displaced persons to their homes in record time. Either way, it is the desire of the surviving victims to return to where they can venture into agriculture and make their lives better.
The Nigerian Customs Service and Niger Kogi Area Command have intercepted a Mitsubishi truck loaded with railway locomotive parts believed to have been vandalized along Mina-Bidda Road. The Customs Area Controller, B.O. Kadejo, made this known while handing over the seized vehicle to the Niger State Command of the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps for proper investigation. He said upon sighting the surveillance patrol team of the customs, the suspected vandals stopped and abandoned the truck and fled the scene. He said preliminary investigation revealed that the vandalized locomotive railway parts belong to the Nigerian Railway Corporation.
Those that are engaged in kind of thing, they are highly unpatriotic. They are very callous. Because we know removal of railway tracks, you know what it can cause? Derailment. Apart from the economic implications. So as for the Nigerian government to provide adequate infrastructure, that is why subsidy is being removed. Have you imagined government is trying all its efforts just to make sure that they cater for the citizen?
The rise in criminality is turning life into a nightmare for some residents of the FCT who are becoming victims of the new trend of car break-ins in the nation's capital. In this report, Kabir Lowell speaks to some experts on how this menace can be curbed. The report.
Car break-in, an illegal forced entry into a vehicle, typically to steal something, has been on a steady rise in the FCT. Motorists who innocently park their cars are usually oblivious that someone is watching to break in and cut away valuables like laptops, car documents, and others. However, security expert Kabir Adamu said car owners should make it their responsibility to keep their valuables out of the car to avoid being robbed.
Sometimes they steal mirrors, sometimes it's the insignia on the vehicle, but most other times is what people leave in the vehicle. So bags, envelopes, and other valuables. So that is where I'm saying the owners of the vehicles are to blame. But more importantly, the security agencies whose responsibility it is to protect those assets, I think, take more of the blame.
He further advised car owners to endeavor to make use of alarms which will alert people around the area when such illegalities are about to be perpetrated.
You need to take certain measures before they become traceable. So as an example, when you have an asset, depending on the make of the asset, almost all of them, first they have this double authentication option. Once you buy devices like that, activate that, especially for your, the operating systems, it allows you to do that. Then for the device itself, most of them, modern devices, they have options for tracing where they are once they are online.
Residents of the Federal Capital Territory said they are dismayed how their valuables have been carted away by hoodlums, adding that security operatives should complement the effort of the car owners by safeguarding cars in public spaces.
It's a very bad attitude. It is not called for at all. So the government can also try to do something about their situation and condition by creating more jobs and make things easy for the citizens. Because somebody who is well-to-do or who is living a reasonable life cannot just break into somebody's car.
I feel terrible because it's usually very unexpected, and you would always have plans, and those kind of things usually disrupt your plans. So if they do that, it will really be heartbreaking, honestly. Honestly, I would tell them it's unfair, it's unjust. And personally, I think if they are caught, they should be really punished. The law, it's unkind for a human being to be unkind to another human being.
It is actually disheartening to break into someone's car and go with their belongings. I'm calling on the youth who indulge in this kind of acts to stop and engage themselves with work to keep them busy. The youth should know the kind of company they keep, which goes a long way to tell people who you really are. Some said parking in unsecured parks can also be one of the factors which make car owners fall victims. They, however, called on government to make it mandatory for those involved in this cruel act to be made to face the full wrath of the law. Kabir Lawal, Trust TV News, Abuja.
The absence of counsel for the federal government on Wednesday stalled the trial commencement of Tukur Mamu, who is being tried over his alleged relationship with terrorists that were involved in the last year's attack on a Kaduna-bound train. The matter, which was number 3 on the court's list, was fixed for trial before Justice Iang Eko of a federal high court in Abuja. When the matter was called, only Mamu's counsel, Obiabo Francis Amedo, was in court. The lawyer told the court that he was notified through a letter from the prosecution that the prosecuting counsel in the matter had gone on training and that they suggested a date before vacation. Justice Eko, who said that the adjournment was at the instance of the prosecution, fixed July 19th for trial. Mamu was arrested on September 6, 2022 on his way to Saudi Arabia for Lesser Hajj and was detained at Cairo International Airport before being repatriated to Nigeria. Kayode Egbetokun has assumed office as the 22nd Indigenous Inspector General of Police in acting capacity. His assumption of office comes a day after he was decorated by the Vice President Kashim Shettima in place of the President. Trust TV's Sagir Ibrahim was at the handover ceremony, which held at the police headquarters, and now reports.
The appointment of Kayode Egbetokun as the Acting Inspector General of Police has been officially confirmed, marking the beginning of his tenure. The handing over ceremony took place at the force headquarters, Louis Edet House in Abuja. Egbetokun assumes the role of the 22nd Inspector General of Police in an acting capacity until his confirmation by the Senate. In his address, the acting police chief emphasized the importance of intelligence gathering and a proactive approach to combat crime and criminal activities. He also expressed his commitment to prioritize the welfare of police officers and personnel. Addressing the issue of pending salaries and arrears owed to constables, Egbetokun assured that efforts will be made to clear the backlog.
We will be bold about this duty. We will also adopt a technology-driven approach to law enforcement, leveraging modern tools and techniques to ensure the effective and efficient deployment of our resources. New policies to promote the welfare of officers will be implemented in the months ahead. We will provide support structures for our police officers that will cater for their peculiar physical, psychological, and emotional needs as law enforcement officers.
Former IGP Alkali Baba Usman, in his speech, expressed his confidence that he has left the police force in a better state than he found it.
As I exit the leadership of the force today, I believe that I am leaving it better than I met it. I believe that I have added value to policing in Nigeria. I hold the firm conviction that the steady progress has been made in all the components of my promise to change the policing narratives, and in our journey to restore the dwindling police primacy within the internal security architecture of the country.
Alkali added that although there is still a lot to be done, his stewardship as the 21st Indigenous Inspector General of Police has laid a solid foundation upon which the new IGP and his team can build upon. From the Force Headquarters in Abuja, Sagir Ibrahim, Trust TV News.
Kano State Governor Kabir Yusuf has directed that all 19 commissioner nominees must comply with the Code of Conduct rules. According to the governor, by this announcement, the nominees are expected to declare their assets within the best possible time before their onward screening at the State Assembly. The governor, in a brief communique on Wednesday, vowed that no commissioner nominee will be sworn in as cabinet member without filling the assets declaration form from the Code of Conduct Bureau. Governor Yusuf reiterated his commitment to the people of Kano State, noting that transparency and accountability remain the basic principles of his administration, which will be applied to champion good governance as promised in his blueprint. The governor's comments comes a few hours after he vowed to publish the names of individuals who allegedly received illegal land allocations from the former governor Abdullahi Umar Ganduje at the Kano Polytechnic. A federal high court Abuja on Wednesday reinstated Mahdi Aliyu Gusau as the deputy governor of Zamfara following his wrongful impeachment by the state's House of Assembly despite a subsisting court order. Justice Inyang Eko, in a judgment, also said set aside all the steps and actions taken by the House of Assembly, former Governor Matawale, and the state's chief judge in the purported impeachment. Justice Eko, who held that the act of the then Assembly Speaker, ex-governor, chief judge and others was an aberration and cannot be allowed to stand, described it as null and void and of no effect whatsoever. Matawale, the three state senators, members of House of Representatives and that of House of Assembly had all defected from the People's Democratic Party to the All Progressives Congress on June 29, 2021. Following their defection, the PDP and Gusau, the then deputy governor who did not cross carpet along with them, had in a suit asked the court to declare their seats vacant, having abandoned the party through which they got into the positions of power. With the court's decision, Gusau will now be eligible to enjoy all the entitlements as well as emoluments due him during his term as deputy governor. You're watching News Hour on Trust TV. Coming up after the break, we take a look at Generation Z and digital distractions. Do stay with us.
TV, documenting the Nigerian story.
Welcome back and thanks for staying with us. You're still watching News Hour on Trust TV. A recap of our top stories. We told you that AIG visits areas affected by Plateau killings as sectarian violence spreads. We also told you that Federal High Court reverses impeachment of Zamfara State Deputy Governor. Moving to other stories, British High Commissioner to Nigeria, Richard Montgomery, says the big economic decisions being taken by the Tinubu administration are being noticed around the world and will create a much better investment environment in the country. He spoke after meeting with Vice President Kashim Shettima on Wednesday. Up for discussion were talks on home affairs and justice, people-to-people links, and a number of issues which could improve the relationship between Nigeria and Britain in the future. Kehinde Amodu reports.
This meeting between Vice President Kashim Shettima and the British High Commissioner is significant because it demonstrates the reaction of other countries to the early steps that have been taken by the new government. Indeed, the British High Commissioner is putting it on record that his government has taken notice.
As I discussed with His Excellency, the big economic decisions being taken by this government are really important and they're being noticed around the world. The removal of subsidy, the exchange rate reform, all of that creates a much better investment environment. And I was in London last week. I was briefing my ministers, but I was also talking to British business in the finance, banking, investment sectors. And they are responding very positively to these first decisions.
Of course, these decisions have resulted in some hardship in Nigeria, a fact that the British High Commissioner acknowledges.
We know that there are tough times that are going on at the moment, inflation and unemployment. And the Vice President and I also touched on some of the measures that might be possible to cushion the blow of some of these economic pressures. But I think the big issue is that these reforms help put Nigeria on a higher growth path. They will attract more investment.
It is an opportunity to get the British government's perspective on recent restrictions on Nigerian students bringing their dependents to the UK.
That's partly because not just from Nigeria, but from many parts of the world, many more students are trying to bring their dependents with them. And I think that there are two issues here. The first is it's not always possible to find the housing and services to meet all the needs of all our existing student population. And secondly, I think reasonable people would accept that we have to manage our visitor numbers and that we have to manage migration in and out of the UK, just as the Nigerian government does for your own borders.
The British government is commending the Nigerian government's economic policies, which it believes will put the country on the right path of growth. Of course, it is speaking from the viewpoint of its national interest, which means the Nigerian government must find a balance that will take into consideration the interest of its people. From State House, Abuja, Kehinde Amodu, Trust TV News.
The current devaluation of the Naira has increased the debt burden of states in Nigeria. Calculated on the current rate of 664 Naira to a dollar, the state's external debt burden has hit about 3 trillion Naira. Top debtor states like Lagos, Kaduna, Cross Rivers, Akwa Ibom, and others have seen their debt stocks balloon. The external debt load of the 36 states and the Federal Capital Territory may increase to as high as over 40% due to floating of the Naira by the Central Bank of Nigeria. On June 13, 2023, the external debt stock of the states was about $4.46 billion or 2.09 trillion Naira at the exchange rate of 471 Naira per dollar as of December 2022. After Nigeria devalued its currency, the debt stock climbed to 2.96 trillion Naira at 663.04 Naira per dollar, meaning the states will need revenue in Naira to pay off their foreign loans. Part of the reason given by the CBN is that it is working to unify the country's chaotic forex market in line with the directive of President Bola Tinubu during his inauguration speech on May 29, 2023. Bayelsa State Governor Duye Diri has advocated an amendment of the Petroleum Industry Act in order to address the flaws in the legislation. Governor Diri stated this on Tuesday when the new commander of the Joint Military Task Force Operation Delta Safe, Rear Admiral Eugenio Ferreira, and other officers paid him a courtesy visit at Government House, Yenagoa. The report.
Describing the act as a time bomb, Governor Dewey emphasized that since the country operates a federal system of government, it was an aberration for the federal government to deal directly with oil-producing communities while excluding states and local governments. The governor noted that the review would go a long way in tackling the ongoing crisis between oil companies and their host communities.
The federal government in that act has successfully excluded the state governments and the local governments, and they are dealing directly with the communities. And just recently, we have started seeing crisis between the communities and the oil companies about signing of MOUs and who should speak on behalf of the communities.
While calling for collaboration between oil-producing states and relevant institutions to bring development closer to the people as one of the surest ways in tackling oil theft, pipeline vandalism, and illegal refining activities, Dewey said both states and local governments should be incorporated into the oil industry legislation to enable them contribute towards ensuring peace and stability in the industry.
And I'm sure that when we join hands with all other institutions, including the federal government of Nigeria, and we bring this development closer to these people, I can assure you that these same people will become the protectors of oil installations that are found in their domain.
Earlier, the new commander of the Joint Military Task Force Operation Delta Safe, Rear Admiral Eugenio Ferreira, expressed gratitude to the state government for the support given to the command, adding that they had achieved 80% success in the drive towards achieving their mandate.
Basically, we have been engaged in what I'll call countering maritime threats within our operations area. We have a task to perform as the Armed Forces of Nigeria. And in carrying out this task, we've encountered quite a number of challenges, which I'll term as crude oil theft, illegal oil refining, pipeline vandalism, and the likes. And so far, I will want to say the operations have been quite successful to a very, very large extent.
Rear Admiral Eugenio attributed their success to the kinetic and non-kinetic approach of the military and assured of even better results moving forward.
Still in Yenagoa, residents of the Bayelsa state capital have called on the state and the federal government to come to their aid after a two-day downpour rendered some of them homeless. While appealing for help, they're worried that if only 2 days of rainfall can wreak such havoc, they wonder what will be their fate when the rainy season sets in proper. Speaking with our correspondent, a resident and a business owner in Azikoro town in Yenagoa metropolis, Mr. Priye Senator, who narrates the difficulties they experience in the area, said they almost lost a child in the water. They called for immediate government intervention to not just ameliorate their plight, but to ensure that their belongings are not swept away in the course of the rainy season. They also want the state government to clear water canals and clean up the drainages. In the same vein, the National Emergency Management Agency says it has deployed experts to the 36 states of the Federation and the FCT following early warnings against flood and disasters as the rainy season sets in. Director General of NEMA, Mustafa Ahmed, said the deployment is to ensure that states take proactive and effective measures to save lives during the rainy season. Speaking on Wednesday in Uyo during the flag-off of the downscaling of disaster early warning measures to the grassroots, Ahmed said in 2022, more than 4 million people were affected in the most devastating flood Nigeria had ever experienced. He said the flood caused the death of 665 Nigerians, displaced over 2 million persons, and destroyed about 355,986 houses and 944,989 hectares of farmlands. The DG, who was accompanied by the Directors General of Nigerian Meteorological Agency NIMET, Mansur Matazu, and Nigerian Hydrological Services Agency, Clement Nze, mentioned that the event was flagged off in Uyo in consideration of the existing mutual support and collaboration between NEMA and the Akwa Ibom government. The Akwa Ibom State Governor, Umo Eno, commended NEMA for starting the initiative in a coastal state, saying the previous government did a lot on flood control and promised to do more. Trouble is brewing between farmers and herders over a grazing reserve in Yenhono village of Keita local government area of Katsina State. According to reports, the disagreement started when Keita local government split and allocated a grazing reserve meant for herders to some farmers. Abdullahi Yamadi visited the area and files in this report for Trust Television News.
This entire area was said to have been a grazing reserve for herders centuries ago, but in 2020, Keita local authorities split and allocated it to farmers for agricultural purposes. This does not go down well with the over 1,500 herders of the area who protested what they described as insensitivity and lack of concern to their plight. According to them, this is happening even as there is an agreement between the herders and the local authorities here. The agreement was that the herders will allow the farmers to cultivate the forest reserve for 3 years, which elapsed in 2023. Keita local government splits all this place, which before serves as grazing reserve and also serve as our only cattle route. There is an agreement signed by all stakeholders, including traditional rulers and members of Mieti Allah, that farmers will no longer cultivate this place. But it was violated. It is because of this violation of agreements some of the suspected farmers poisoned our cows, and up till today, the local authorities are adamant about it. Is it because we are law-abiding? Moreover, the herders alleged that about 6 days ago, some suspected farmers poisoned a stream water within the forest reserve. 19 of their cows drank from the water and died in the process. As a farmer, I am not aware of any cow that was poisoned here, and I paid 4,000 naira only into the coffers of Keita local government and obtained this portion of land, and many of us, especially Fadama farmers, were allocated the land 3 years ago. Though some arrests were made, Keita local authority is saying the herders have no claim to make, as they have more than enough grazing reserves in the area beside the ones separated and allocated to the farmers.
It's not grazing reserve. The area is divided into two. There's area at the back and area in the front. The farmers asked for that area in the front, and the area at the back was left to the Fulani people.
At the height of insecurity in the state, many Katsina residents are saying authorities need to wade into the issue immediately to prevent possible breakdown of law and order. Abdullahi Izuma Yamadi, Trust Television News, Katsina.
Parents have been called upon to closely monitor the activities of their wards in order to create a chance for a better future for them. Trust TV Zainab Garai speaks to a cross-section of FCT residents on the need to give Gen Z proper orientation in the face of technological distractions that are characteristic of the 21st century. The report.
Generation Zero, popularly known as Gen Z, is broadly defined as the 72 million people born between 1997 and 2012. It is a stage of growth that requires close monitoring of infants by parents. This generation is often believed to be more upwardly mobile in line with the technological advancements of the Jet Age. This makes them inclined to independent-mindedness, individual creativity, and a sense of exploration that the older generation, especially parents, find disturbing. Hence, they want the Gen Zs to adopt norms and values that will better their lot.
Everything you see yourself doing boils down to upbringing. When you talk about the former generation, their upbringing is so unique that they imbibe in them the mystery behind culture, and culture is all about respect and way of life. But nowadays, what the parents see themselves doing, we don't call it culture. They pet children into destruction.
It's quite different now, and different not just not in a negative way, I could say. It's in a positive way. I think we are evolving. You know, some of the things that used to look sensible in the past, all of a sudden doesn't make sense anymore. And it's not because people are abandoning their culture. I think we are just evolving and getting new cultures as.
Some Nigerians on the streets of Abuja said the Gen Zero need to be taught simple etiquette, such as how to eat, dress, and live respectable lives.
Well, I think it has to do with the new trend of what we are having in the society. Like I do tell my people, my staff in the office, this phone that we have is creating a lot of immorality, disrespect to the elders. You say children of nowadays, when we are growing up, we bend down to greet our elders. But now they shake hands. Some of them will not even greet you, and they expect so much from you as a daddy, as your boss. They don't give you in return. So what do you expect? The value will be degenerating down.
Modernization has changed everything. Like the old generation now, we now got some advice from internet. We seem to imitate what we see online. Like in the old generation, people then focus on what the parents teach them. But now we get if you go online now, you start seeing different things, so you want to imitate.
They also want Gen Zero to learn from an early stage and develop greater appreciation for diversity while finding unique identities for themselves in a world that is constantly forcing people to live lives that do not reflect their true selves. Zainab Garai, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Families have been described as an institution that plays an important role in creating and sustaining peaceful and inclusive societies that are key for sustainable and inclusive development in the world. Stakeholders stated this at the Strengthening Families Conference Abuja 2023 that held at the International Conference Center. Abdurrahman Umar was there and now reports.
It is a gathering of different families without recourse to religious affiliations. They are here for the Strengthening Families Conference Abuja 2023, organized by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints at the International Conference Center Abuja, with the theme Strengthening Marriages. While here, organizers are providing effective strategies and practices that seek to strengthen families by bolstering marriages. The president of the African West area of the Church of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints, Gifford and Wendy Nelson, are the key speakers. They want the governments of West African countries to implement policies that will enable families to thrive irrespective of their background.
For our political leaders that are listening in or in attendance, policies that support marriage, parenthood, and family life will make it possible for all Africans to reap the benefits of a generation of youth motivated to make their communities and countries flourish.
All affiliations in civilization stem from the father and mother interconnection and thrive if it is also a strong husband and wife relationship.
Other speakers like Christian Chimezwalam charge families not to be married to social media but keep in touch with each other through communication, among others.
No success can compensate failure at home. To also know that no matter how busy we are, family is number one in all that we do.
Charles Inoji, an Nollywood filmmaker, was recognized for his continued contributions through drama that aims at encouraging married couples to stay married.
Like I said up there, you never know how rich you are until you have a stable family, and you would never know how poor you are until you have a family that is in disarray, irrespective of how much millions and billions you have amassed for yourself.
Participants at the event were not left behind as they shared their experiences of the conference.
When you say nation, it's begin from family. It's begin from family. Wherever you build and strategize your family is what will lead to the community we're having, to the society we're having, and then to the nation at large.
No matter your religion, we are all from families. So, and it's good for us to hear what is being said here so that we can strengthen the family.
It's no gainsaying that families are crumbling and the rates are so high. So at this time, when the world needs good people, there is need for families to be strengthened.
One of the organizers, Ipe George, says the church saw the need in this critical time to reach out to millions of families around the globe to enlighten and educate them through conferences like this.
We hope at the end of this program that the rate of divorces in Nigeria will reduce by 20%, and we will pray for it that it will come to pass.
According to research, children growing up in stable and supportive families develop positive cognitive, emotional and social characteristics, thus becoming stable and peaceful adults that are critical to nation building. Abdurrahman Umar, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Thank you, Abdurrahman. Let's now join Chiamaka Nwafo for business news.
The federal government, 36 states and 774 local governments in Nigeria share 2.84 trillion naira statutory allocation from the Federation Account Allocation Committee, FAC, in the first 4 months of 2023. This represents a 7.98% year-on-year increase when compared to 2.63 trillion naira shared in the corresponding period of 2022. However, there was a monthly downward trend during the 4 months. Data from the monthly FAC communique for the period showed that allocations for January stood at 750.2 billion naira. February allocations fell by 3.67% to 722.6 billion naira and down by 1.1% to 714.6 billion naira in March. The downward trend continued in April when allocations fell by 8.2% to 655.9 billion naira. During the period, FD received 1.07 trillion naira, up year-on-year by 5.9% from 1.01 trillion naira received in the same period of 2022. States received 931.85 billion naira, representing a 12% rise from 828.8 billion naira, while the local governments received 685.88 billion naira, rising by 11.9% from 612.5 billion naira in 2022. The Ghanaian economy expanded by 4.2% in the first quarter of 2023 compared to the 3.2% reported in the previous quarter. Data represents the fastest pace of economic growth for the West African country since the second quarter of 2022. It is also the 10th consecutive quarter of economic growth recorded by the country. This is according to data from the Ghana Statistical Service. The first quarter of 2023 witnessed notable developments in various sectors of the economy, significantly impacting the overall gross domestic product (GDP) growth. Key subsectors including public administration, defense and social security, health, education, and information and communication played a vital role in driving the economy forward. And finally, South African inflation fell to a 13-month low of 6.3% year-on-year in May, helped by smaller increases in food and fuel cost, data has shown. The slowdown from 6.8% in April was greater than forecast. Analysts polled by Reuters had expected a reading of 6.5%. The latest figure takes inflation closer to the central bank's 3% to 6% target range, where inflation was last seen in April 2022. The South African Reserve Bank has raised interest rates 10 times in a row to try to bring inflation back to target. Its next policy meeting is in about a month's time in July.
Now on the foreign scene, intense battles have broken out between Sudan's military and a rival paramilitary force after a 3-day ceasefire expired. The truce brokered by the United States and Saudi Arabia ended on Wednesday at 6 a.m. The ceasefire brought relative calm to Sudan's capital, Khartoum, but fierce fighting was reported on Tuesday night in parts of the city. Residents say clashes centered around the intelligence agency's headquarters near Khartoum International Airport. Sudan descended into chaos in mid-April after months of rising tensions exploded into open fighting between rival generals seeking to control the country. The war pits the military, led by Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, against the Rapid Support Forces, a militia-turned-paramilitary force commanded by Mohammed Hemeti Hamdan Dagalo. And finally, let's join Adeni Ajishafe for sports news.
The Nigerian Tech Ball delegation has arrived Hamama in Tunisia for 2023 African Beach Games. The Tech Ball event is scheduled to start on 23rd June 2023 with a technical meeting and organized training sessions for all the participating teams, while the game starts on Saturday 24th June 2023 in the men's doubles and mixed doubles, group stage and knockout stage. Head of Technical and Education, Nigerian Tech Ball Federation and leader of delegation, Abdul Balje, said the athletes are in high spirit to win medals and also qualify for World Beach Games in Bali, Indonesia, slated for August 2023. Meanwhile, team captain Victor Yemade has reassured the president of the federation, Engineer Habu Gumel, and Nigerians that they are ready to take Africa by storm. And in basketball, African Basketball League President Gal Fall has signed a contract extension with Rwanda as host of the competition until 2028. Under the partnership, Kigali will continue to host the BAL Games, including the playoffs and finals in 2024, 2026 and 2028. In 2020, Rwanda and the BAL signed a 3-year partnership agreement, making the country an official founding and host partner of the tournament. BAL president said the goal is to continue to build on the momentum and expand the footprint of basketball in Africa for the next 5 years. Kwara Falcon, representing Nigeria in 2023 edition, though failed to make it beyond the Southern Conference in Senegal. That's Sport News. I'm Adeni Ajishafe.
And that's it on News Hour. I'm Darshan Hussaina Usman. Thanks for watching.
From the Daily Trust News Center, this is the News Hour.